They said you can't do this with 3 kids. They said it's immature, irresponsible, reckless. It's just too risky. They said, what about school? You'll destroy your children. What about privacy? You'll ruin your marriage. What about your careers? You'll bankrupt your finances. They said it must be nice to be independently wealthy. I wish someone would bankroll my travels. When in reality, my husband and I came from less than nothing. We were a couple that scrounged every penny, the ones that said yes to overtime and no to extended vacations. We saw our children's noise making as an inconvenience, distracting us from replying to another email or earning another dollar. The ones that got a decent bottle of champagne and saved it for a special occasion that never came. I bet you can relate. And I promise, I'm not here to convince you to sell everything you own and caravan across the continent. But I am here to tell you I see you, tired parent, entrepreneur, human, and it's time to drink the good champagne and redesign a life that works for you, not the other way around. Hello, if I haven't met you before, my name is Amy Haldeman. I'm just an average nanny agency owner who's made a conscious decision to live a not-so-ordinary life. I wiggled out of the Venus flytrap, and this is my testimonial of breaking free. Isn't that how entrepreneurship is sold to us? Freedom? To be your own boss? Work 4-hour work weeks? Be a zillionaire in flip-flops? Tell me I'm wrong. Like many entrepreneurs, I was lured in by the promise of setting my own hours and living life on my own terms. But it took me years and countless painful lessons to undress business ownership for the wolf in sheep's clothing it was, and finally make my business work for me. I don't do anything halfway, and the early years of entrepreneurship felt like riding a speeding bullet. I poured myself into my work, wearing long hours like a badge of honor. I was determined to be the responsive one, the always available one, the hustle until I pass out one. Then, ambitious to my morrow, we added 3 children to our family in less than 30 months, 2 through the glorious process of adoption. As a seasoned nanny, I had watched other people's children take their first steps, and I knew I didn't want to miss these one-of-a-kind moments with my own kids. So I attempted to balance work and mom life together. But like so many others trying to juggle it all, my ignored check engine light was always flickering. Then, with a growing nanny agency and 3 small kids in tow, my husband and I, true to our Enneagram 3's insatiable hunger to achieve, started a real estate company and a brewery. All this while my husband was working full-time in ministry and as we undertook deep renovation projects on our house. Days, weeks, months were spinning by in a life lived in constant fast-forward. You know that giddy energy you feel on your ride to the airport when you're off for an exciting vacation with your family? If only we could bottle that up, right? Work should be the last thing on your mind. Yet here I was. My kids were laughing in the back seat in excitement, and all I could think about were the emails that I needed to send as soon as we checked our bags. And if anyone needed a holiday, it was me, but I just couldn't unplug. I worried my heart was going to explode under the weight of stress in my life. I had fallen into the hamster wheel that if I just pushed myself a tiny bit harder, I would reach my goals. If I just made a little bit more money, if I just reached that millionaire status, then I'd be able to slow down. I'll never forget enthusiastically sharing our business dreams with a couple of our close friends. I felt so proud of working hard, hitting goals, and watching our net worth grow. As I rattled off our accomplishments, our friends looked at me and said, "Amy, will it ever be enough? Where does it stop? What's your end goal?" That conversation was my cold water wake-up call. In an instant, I knew I had to make a life reconstruction. Not platitudes, not Band-Aid remedies, not someday in the future, but significant, enduring changes right now, before I damaged my health or missed out on my kids' childhoods. I was done constantly feeling anxious, juggling a never-ending to-do list for 3 businesses and 3 kids. My husband and I had a hard reality check that year. We reviewed our finances to determine our escape number. We decided to sell the brewery, paused the real estate business, and my husband quit his job that he loved. Then we bravely sold almost everything we owned, packed up whatever little we kept, and embarked on an adventure with no end in sight or final destination in mind. Our first stop was Florida. There, we pumped the brakes, rested, and reconnected as a family while soaking in the small simplicities of everyday life. We breathed in fresh ocean air, exhaled out the toxic, pent-up stress, felt the sand between our toes, and really heard our children's laughter. Next, we flew to Costa Rica for a couple of months. We quickly felt like locals. I can still picture where to find the peanut butter at the grocery store. Our time in Costa Rica seemed straight out of a fairy tale. We surfed, hiked volcanoes, and explored the rainforest. Then, we went for the ultimate patience tester. We moved our family of 5 into a 400 square foot home on wheels and put the pedal to the metal for an unforgettable road trip. Over the last 2.5 years, we've slow traveled 30 states, hiked our way through 29 national parks, spent 3 months living in Mexico in our RV, spent another week on a catamaran, and parked our home to hop on a cruise through the Panama Canal for a couple of weeks. Our family has spent weeks volunteering, packing food for Nicaragua, and playing soccer with kids at an orphanage in Mexico. Yes, I still work. Yes, my business still grows. And yes, thanks to my husband, my children still receive a phenomenal education. Sure, it's busy, but it's much, much easier and more pleasurable than suffocating in the dollar-chasing hustle culture I was quicksanding in before. So what now? Well, this year we have trips to Alaska, Hawaii, and hopefully a couple of months in Asia planned. We're not on vacation. This is our normal life. It's not perfect. We haven't found some secret one-size-fits-all formula. We make mistakes, and every day is not a highlight reel, but we figure it out together. I've had the internet cut out during client calls, had an entire team transition in a period of 3 months, and like many of you, I'm making the dollars stretch in a slower economy, but the stress is different, and it's worth it. I've watched the sunset over the Pacific Ocean while building a fort of driftwood and roasting marshmallows with my kids on a beach without thinking about work. I rarely set an alarm clock. My kids wake me up by coming into my bed to cuddle, and I don't shoo them away. Blocking my calendar to go hike the Grand Canyon or bike across the Golden Gate Bridge is par for the course. Closing my laptop and joining friends for happy hour went from being out of the question to a regular occurrence. I say yes to building sandcastles until dark and no to ad hoc client meetings, and I catch myself when I slip into old achiever patterns and reground in the love and serenity that surrounds me. Is there any sound more soothing than hearing your children breathe as they sleep? I don't think so, and I double dog dare you to find me one. I promise that I'm not here today to suggest that you sell everything and hit the road. This isn't a lecture. It's my lesson, learned the hard way, shared to perhaps encourage you to slow down, reevaluate, and reconfigure your business so that it works for you. Remember the reasons why you became an entrepreneur. Are they still true? Then, I challenge you. What if we stopped measuring wealth by a number on a profit loss report and started measuring wealth in giggles heard, sunsets seen, snuggles felt, fireflies counted, and seashells collected? What if you scheduled work emails and phone calls between creating precious memories and not the other way around? What if we used entrepreneurship as a tool to get more of what really matters? Time, health, love, freedom. I don't believe in coincidences, and I hope our paths crossing today will inspire you to change what no longer serves you in your business. We can make more money, we can recover assets, we can rebuild a company, and we can reinvent ourselves again and again, but we cannot turn back time. Once it's gone forever. I wish you a business that protects your time and respects it as your most valuable asset, so that you may use it for a life overflowing with meaningful experiences and an empty bucket list.